I found peace, loving on those who hate me. I found joy, raising babies with an angel on.
Hey, here we are.
We're running a little late.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Sorry.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. It was you upgrade your computer to you guys know this problem. Anyone ever have that problem where you upgrade to Windows 11, then you go to do your podcast, and the next thing you know, all the inputs and outputs no longer work.
Yeah.
Of course, that happens right before we go live. So that'll teach us not to upgrade to Windows 12. Most likely. But good morning to everybody here on the West Coast. Happy lunchtime to everybody on the East Coast, and wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us on
The Q Show.
Okay.
All right. Hey.
What do we got in store for us today?
What do we got in store? Last week we talked about, we're talking about Elevate. That's what we've been talking about for a while now. Last week we talked about the compressor, gate, global settings, alternate foot switch functions. And this week we're going to dive into the preset management and setup options.
Sweet.
So I don't think we had any questions from last time. So
that's
without further ado, we'll just dive right in.
We can do that, but it's I always want to go, hey, what have you been up to?
Yeah.
It's that natural feeling. But, preset management, it's easy for people to kind of, for this to be glossed over. I was having a long talk with Pat last night, actually. And as I was kind of explaining the uniqueness of Elevate versus, other products out there, that was one of the biggest things that I think, for me at least, is kind of transformational about the product. And so people, kind of for the user, for you who actually use the gear and you know it and you understand it, and kind of to set the stage for a moment, because it's worth taking the time to, I think, set the stage for this one. Historically speaking, when we go back in time, and we probably should just do a whole podcast on kind of the history of modeling, type things. Yeah. But when we go back in time, and we think about it for a second, there's been this tendency for people, well, really for manufacturers, for people creating the products, to kind of try to take what's in the real world and then stick that all on like a pedal board, so to speak. For pedal board players, there's what do? You get an amplifier, you get, some sort of thing that gets you into the PA, like a direct amp or whatever have you. And you, build kind of a rig around this concept, right? That I've got my Klon Centaur over here. I've got, this, that, or the other on my board, delays and reverbs. And I set up kind of a whole rig and get an amplifier and a speaker and guitar and get, quote unquote, my tone, right? And when the developers of modeling came along, what's the easiest way to convince someone that, that, hey, we did the same thing that you have, right? Yeah. And I think that the easiest way to do that was to kind of copy it, mirror it into the architecture of the thing. Right. And so most of, and it's not a complete, I don't like using kind of totality statements because I'm always wrong, right? Most of the world of presets is a preset based around a rig with effects pedals, kind of the same thing you'd have in the real world. Now, look, not everything's like that, but by far and large, when I take a look at kind of the arms race of manufacturers as they're building the next gen modeler, it's I have 80,000 amp models, I have 79,000 IRs, I have 400,000 cabinet types, and when you just as a guitarist start to think about that for a moment, it becomes quickly profound how many permutations of tone there potentially could be, and where and how would you even begin to do that? And that actually, it turns out, is kind of the in my take, or my personal take. It's the Achilles heel of a lot of really high-end modeling, because what do? Like, you get in there and there's so much to do with it. Now, mind you, that's just creating kind of a tone or a preset, but then there's preset itself. And the trouble is, from that standpoint, for me, if I just want like I always say, my 5 food groups of tone, my clean, my semi-clean, my dirty, my, full distortion, whatever have you, that kind of can be in the way because they're building it on a more of a rig type basis. Now, again, with the Helix, I can bank up and bank down and load a bank for a given song, but it's a lot of tap dancing in between everything, right? If I look at, some of the other products out there, when I take that look at them, there's these kind of weirdness in between various pre-patches, presets, whatever, so that as I'm going through it, it's like I've changed my entire rig out, right? And the complication of doing that is oftentimes I'm hitting 2 buttons to move up and down. And the expectation is, well, we built a rig, use the rig. That's this preset. And that's not what I want to do, right? As a guitarist, I'm after certain specific tones that might be vastly different one from the other. I kind of can get away with that to an extent. But then I find myself having to kind of, tap dance, which is what I thought the promise was of getting away, getting into like a modeler or a rig like that. So, it's not to say it's unusable. You can always find something that works. I'll make something work if I have to. And I think most, guitarists are of that ilk, on the downbeat, you got to play. So just play, even if it's not what you do the best you can. But, that I think is kind of one of the kind of clever things about Elevate is that it went in a different direction. It didn't build a rig. It let you craft a sound specifically for a song, right? And the ease of doing that and just building that preset out is one thing, but the ability to take that now and just throw that up as a set list is more natural for, it was a gear shift for me, to be honest with you. That was actually a little bit tough for me because my tendency was want to do what the world has already done, not realizing there could be a better way, right?
Yeah.
And now that I've, 100 presets later, now I'm going, I would never go back to that. It's so complicated. It's so difficult to use, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
So it's like I say, it's worth a conversation around the setup because of the simplicity of it. And I don't think that anyone can really look at a unit and understand that. Right. That's actually tough.
Right. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are just going to assume that it's another modeler.
Yeah.
Which it isn't. And we should totally dive into this in a future live stream because there are multiple layers of things to talk about here, and we can easily fill up an hour talking about it. I could tell you my story about this and my thoughts and opinions regarding modeling.
Okay. Now he's making me want to ask now, but we
yeah,
got a lot to cover today.
We should totally do that in a future.
All right, we'll schedule that one.
Yeah.
Oh, and I should say, everybody, if you have questions, it's okay. Ask them now because later on, if you didn't ask them, we might forget by the time we get to the next episode.
Yeah.
Although Brian's pretty good about figuring all that out, I'm not. So.
All right.
So preset
management. Okay. So when we say preset management, we're talking about this group, this row of buttons at the top here, where this will allow you to perform multiple functions to manage your presets and lists. So let's just go through these, and we won't cover every single thing that you can do, but we'll try to cover most of it. Some of it is, certain things are similar to other things,
right.
Like renaming a list is just like renaming a preset. So we're not going to do every single thing, but we'll try to hit all of the major things that you will be doing when you use this.
Okay.
All right. So the first thing, I'm actually going to start over at the right here with the save exit button. This is So obviously, like when you change something, when you edit a preset, this LED is going to come on above save exit to tell you need to do something,
Yeah.
right? It wants you to press. It says press me. That's what that LED says. In this case, it's going to remind you that you need to save this preset
Right.
before you exit out. Meaning before you try to change the preset.
Right.
Later, we'll talk about in the setup options, there are ways to kind of skip this step if you want to, right? If you want to automatically save or automatically undo your changes, you can do that in the setup options, and we'll talk about that later.
I didn't actually know that. That's kind of cool. But it's basically like a beacon telling you, hey, bub, you just changed this preset. You got to.
Right.
Are you sure you want to just throw it away? It's not going to ignore that. It's going to,
Right, because it doesn't know what you want to do, right?
Right.
Do you want to save this before you change a preset? Do you
Right.
want to discard those changes? So by default, it's going to ask you.
Right.
Un-
As soon
unless-
as you start changing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, you can go into the setup options and tell it you want to automatically save all your changes when
Right.
you change a preset or automatically undo them,
Gotcha.
right? But it doesn't know what you want. It's not going to assume. So you have to tell it either through the setup option or using this menu
Yeah.
every time.
I would leave that alone when you're first working with the unit because you want it to remind you that you've made changes, I would think.
Right, and you want to get familiar with how it works,
Yeah.
right? The process,
Right.
That when you change something and then you go to change a preset, you want to know what's it doing with your changes,
Right.
And so until you kind of learn that about the unit, you kind of want it to ask you to
Right.
get familiar with it. So in this case, just to explain what's on this menu, and so we started with a factory preset here, and you
Right.
can't override a factory preset, right?
Right.
So it's going to ask you, do you want to save this as a new preset? And you have that option. You also have the option of doing nothing. No means just do nothing. It just takes you back. It just exits out of the save menu.
Right.
Doesn't do anything.
I'll let you keep working, yeah.
Yeah. Or undo will revert those changes back to whatever was saved
Right.
before. In this case, like it's a factory
It's
preset.
factory, so, yeah.
it's just gonna
Yeah.
throw away your edits. But the save exit button is also kind of your get out of jail free card. It's like if you're somewhere and you're not sure how you got there, or you're not sure like how do I get back to my save menu or whatever, you can hit save exit, and it'll prompt you and it'll ask you like, do you just want to exit out of this, or say you're like queuing up a preset and you're like, wait, I just want to go back to where I was. Where was I? You can hit save exit.
So it's an undo button.
Yeah, it's kind of, so that's the exit part of save
Right,
exit.
right.
It just gets you out, right? It's kind of like a home button.
Right.
And it works from most states. Like not every single state. Like in the tuner mode, it doesn't do anything. But
Right.
most states, it will just kind of take you back to the preset.
Gotcha.
The preset mode, if you will, or the preset state, which is what you see here.
Gotcha.
All right, and that's essentially the way that the save exit menu works.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to work my way to the left here.
Actually,
And-
which is good because compare is an incredibly valuable tool.
yeah. So let's go ahead and make an edit here. So I just enabled the compressor, and so now you'll see again save exit LED lights to alert you that you made a change. And anytime you make a change, if you want to compare that to what was saved previously,
Right.
you can touch compare, and it just reloads the saved version.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So as you're working and you're changing it, say you want to change a factory preset and you've massively increased the gain, compare just takes you back
Yeah.
to where it was before you started.
Right.
Gotcha.
Now, when you're in compare mode, it's going to lock out certain functions. You can, go into your parameters and kind of see what they were set at in the saved version. But if you try to do something like change a preset, it's going to remind you. You have compare active, so don't do that.
Yeah.
You've got to exit out of compare mode first. So again, it's just tapping or touching the compare button toggles that mode.
Right.
Let's do something where, I'm just going to turn that off. Let's go into something where you can see a parameter. So let's turn up the gain here. And again, save exit LED lights to tell you that you changed something. You can touch compare and it will show you the value as well as load that saved preset so you can both see the difference and hear the difference.
Right. Gotcha.
Okay. So fairly intuitive. So I'm just going to back out my changes. And so that's the compare button. And so now we can kind of start to talk about the things you can do to create presets and modify them and lists and stuff like that. So I think I should probably first mention there's like 3 different ways that you can create a preset. Okay. The first way is you just create a new preset from scratch.
Right.
It's kind of a blank preset. So let's do that first. So you'd press new copy. Here you have options. It's going to ask you, do you want to perform this on a preset or a list? We want to do preset. And your options here are new and copy. So we're going to say new preset. And then here's probably the most tedious part of doing this.
At least from the,
At least from this user interface. It's easier from
the web interface.
The web app. So we're just going to have to put in a name here. And while I do this, Chris can entertain you with his guitar playing. Touch save exit. It asks me, do I want to save or exit? I want to save this. And there it is. I got a new preset. Almost everything's off except for the gate and the cab. So let's go ahead and just put some stuff in here. Change the gate to humbucker mode. Cab is unfocused. That's fine. Let's enable the gain and give it a little gain. Pick a gain mode there. Add a tiny bit of compression. All right. Fine. It's fine for now. Let's save that. Touch save exit. Select OK, and there's the new preset. So that's how to do it from scratch.
That's about as easy as it gets.
Yeah. But you get 2 other ways you can do it. The other way is you just copy an existing preset and use that as your starting point. So let's pick Purple Haze, press new copy. We're doing this on a preset and select copy. We're copying from the existing preset, but here you can change this if you want to start from something else. But let's say, we're going to copy Purple Haze, and then it
automatically put a 1 behind it.
Yeah, so preset and list names have to be unique. So it treats it like a file on your computer,
Right.
Every file name has to be different.
Can't have 2 files named the same thing in a folder. Got it.
Right. So it will automatically append a number to make it unique.
Right.
If it already has a number, it will increment that number.
So the next one would be Purple Haze 2 and Purple Haze 3. And
Yeah,
gotcha.
So you can change it here if you want, but I'm just going to leave it at Purple Haze 1. Touch save exit and press the knob to save that. And so now we have a copy of Purple Haze.
And this is just exactly the same thing as the factory preset, but with a 1 on it.
Yeah, so now it's in a user preset and you can edit it.
Gotcha.
So you can use that as your starting point and So that's the second way to create a new preset.
Just copy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So third way, say you're in a preset. Let's pick Panama. And then you start editing it. And then you're thinking, oh, crap, I forgot to make a copy of that.
I'm
I wanna
thinking,
save
crap,
this.
I picked up the wrong guitar.
That's okay. You hit save exit, and it asks you, do you want to save it as a new preset? Yes, I do. So it appends a number on there
Gotcha.
for you. Save.
So the simple act of just changing, if you just don't like the way that the factory preset sounded and you start changing it, it's basically creating you a new custom preset
Right.
for yourself at that point. Yeah, cool.
Right. So it's similar from a user preset. If you're in a user preset and you start editing it, I don't know. Let's just turn this off. I hit save. And here you have a new option. So the menu's a little different with starting from a user preset.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Right.
Right. It just gives you an option to save this as new. And here, see it made it a
Automatically,
2
yeah.
now. Okay. Save. All right. So those are the 3 ways to create a new preset.
Very cool.
A lot of options. Let's go back to,
I kind of like how it's aimed at making you more creative.
yeah,
It's trying to make you make your own stuff right from the beginning.
right. So let's go back to the preset that I created from scratch. And I went in and just picked a couple things and saved it. And it saves it to the A variant. Okay?
Right.
The B variant is still going to be
Blank.
essentially blank. I mean, it's got a cab, but that's it.
Right.
Right? So let's say you want your B to be the same as the A, but maybe a little more gain or a little more level.
Right.
Well, you can import the A into the B and then use that as your starting point. So you don't
Gotcha.
have to recreate the whole thing. So you select the variant that you want to import into and then touch new copy. Scroll over to import this to this preset's B.
Right.
And it'll automatically here. If you start with A, it'll say A here. If you start with B, it'll say
It's
B.
whichever preset bank you're in. Yeah. Gotcha.
And here you can import from any preset.
Oh, interesting.
Right. You can start at any place, any preset A or B. You can import into this
Gotcha. So you
B.
just pick one, but it went with the
Yeah,
one that
see.
we were working up already.
It starts with where
defaults.
you were.
Yeah.
So we want to import from this preset's A, and so here's where you select A or B. In this case, it's not going to let you select B because you're importing into the B.
Well, yeah, that would make sense.
But if you select a different preset, you have that selection.
Correct.
Overwrite, yes, and there it is. So now you have that in the B, and so maybe you just want to give it a little more gain and a little level boost or something. Save that. Okay. All right.
So we got solo boost now. Sweet.
So that's essentially how you make a preset and set up your A and B. Okay, so the next thing is how to copy a preset. So we touch new copy. We're working with a preset here, and we want to copy it. So it's always going to start from whatever current preset you're on, but here you can copy from anywhere.
Basically anything.
So let's say we want to copy this to another preset. And again, I kind of showed you this before, how to create a new preset.
Right.
Save. Okay.
And it incremented by one as
Yeah.
advertised.
So you can copy lists as well. And when you do, it'll copy all the references in that list.
Right.
It's the same procedure as just copying a preset.
Gotcha.
So I don't need to show you that. But now I want to show you how to create a list. Since we're talking about lists, so you touch new copy, select list, and then select new. And now we got to give it a name. Again, the tedious part.
Can your list be the same name as a patch?
Yes,
Oh,
but
okay.
list names need to be unique from one another.
From one another, yeah.
Yeah.
Same as a preset. Gotcha. Some programs, they, no matter what the disparate thing is named, it has to be different. That's why I ask.
Yeah, it treats presets and lists differently.
Gotcha.
Let's call this QShow list.
Yep, this is tedious.
Yeah.
This is where the web app is your friend.
All right. Touch save exit. Save. All right. So now it's gonna want you to select the list. Since we just created a list and that list is empty, it's not gonna let you select it. Right? If I try to select it, it's gonna say, "Whoops, it's empty." Try again.
So you can't even go to the list until
you have presets in it.
Until you put presets in it,
Which is
got it.
kind of like, it prevents you from, like if you loaded an empty list, you wouldn't be able to select anything on it, right? It's preventing you from doing something that you don't want to do.
Okay.
Okay, so now we want to add some presets to that list. So you touch new copy, select add preset to list. So let's
So in essence,
let's just add-
you're copying the preset to the list is what you're doing.
yeah, it's adding a reference to that preset.
Yeah. But in my head, I'm just thinking like I want it in essence in this folder. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's actually, so it's not like a folder mechanism. It's just a reference.
It's a reference to the original preset.
Right.
So if you change that preset and it's on multiple lists, it'll change on all those lists.
Right.
Good point.
Right, but if you delete a list and that list has presets in it, it doesn't delete.
It doesn't
those
delete the presets.
right?
Yeah, got it.
All right, so let's add some of the presets that we just made. So we want to add it to the list here that we just made, which is the QShow list. Save, yes, and so we'll just add a few more. This is the copy of that QShow preset. What was it? QShow preset 1 to QShow list. Save, yes. Add preset to list. Let's add the Purple Haze 1 to QShow list. Save, yes. Okay. So now when I
you can
select the
switch to-
list, I press both preset foot switches to get into list mode, and then I scroll to the list that I want, which is the QShow list. Press recall. Now it loads that list, but I still have to select the preset on that list. So I have got QShow.
Or you can choose a different one. Yeah.
I've got QShow test 1, Purple Haze 1. Let's just select this one, QShow test, and now so now we're loaded on QShow
Right.
list. So pretty easy. That's how you add presets to a list.
And it kind of getting back to what I was saying at the beginning, this is kind of where I think it shines because as opposed to having 5 food groups of tone, I can build an entire set list with, fine-tuned characteristics for every song I'm going to do,
Yeah.
for the show. Or for me, when I'm recording, I'll secretly tell you, I've been recording an album. And all the presets all exist. So for every tone that I put on the thing, I could program this and hand it off to someone else to play or for myself and just be able to dial up a set list and play the entire album without having to go in and make any sacrifices in tone at all because all the presets still exist, which is pretty cool actually. So.
All right. So let's, I think we covered everything under the new copy menu. So let's go to the move rename menu. So first thing that we're going to do is rename a preset. So you touch move rename. Here you can select preset or list. We're just going to rename a list. So we select rename a preset. So we're going to select preset. And now you can select whether you want to move it or rename it.
I'm assuming move means relative to the list that you're on.
Yes. And we'll get to that.
Okay,
so
okay.
you can move.
I'll stop.
you can move. Yeah, you can move presets
I'm getting
on
ahead.
lists and also within the all presets list. So let's rename a preset here. Select that. So now you'll select the preset that you want to rename. Now, you cannot rename factory presets, and you can't delete factory presets, right? So it's not going to show you factory presets here because you can't rename them. So that's why it's starting at 100, and it's just showing you user presets.
So it's only showing you the ones you can rename.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So let's say QShow Test 1. Let's rename this to...
I'm assuming it won't let you rename it to something else that already exists. Either.
Correct. Yeah, you can't rename.
You.
Yeah, it'll give you a message that no, you can't do that.
Right.
Let's call it QShow Test A. Save. And so now, when you go to this preset, it's QShow Test A.
And again, if you did that on any list that it's on, it'll change. It'll update because you're renaming the actual preset. And
right.
Not, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and you can have presets on multiple lists.
Right.
And if you rename that preset, it's going to rename it everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah. Got it.
Okay.
Good to know, because if you have some esoteric name and you rename it, and then you're like, why did it disappear off all my list? Well,
yeah, it didn't disappear. It just renamed it everywhere.
Yeah.
And then renaming a list, you can do that as well, but it's the same thing as renaming a preset, so I don't have to show you. Now let's move some presets around. So I'm going to select Move, Rename Preset, Move. Now you can select the list that you want to move stuff on.
Right.
Okay, let's go with the All Presets list. And here again, it's only going to let you move the user presets, not the factory presets. Okay, so you select which preset you want to move. Let's move this QShow Test A. And then it gives you a little arrow showing you where in the list you are, where you're going to move it to, okay?
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I want to move it after just QShow Test. So now it'll be between QShow Test and Purple Haze 1.
For you guys with singers that decide at the last second to redo your set list, there you go.
Yep.
You don't have to tap dance.
All right, so we save that. And if we go back to the All Presets list, now, see, it goes QShow Test A, and then Purple Haze 1. Put it where we told it to put it.
But it only moved it on that list.
Only on that list, right.
I know I keep beating the dead horse on that, but, for people that, aren't used to the idea of a list, who's not used to the idea of a list? But it's useful to know that then you can reorganize, presets on other lists. So if you're in 3 or 4 bands, as some people are or whatnot, it's only doing that list relative to that thing. So
right. And yeah, we showed it on the All Presets list, but you can move stuff on your user lists. It's exactly the same process.
Gotcha.
Okay. Now, let's say you want to remove a preset from a list. Then we're going to move over to the delete, remove. Right? This is where you can start doing some damage, but it will warn you before you do anything destructive. Okay. So we want to remove a preset from a list. We're going to select that, and then it asks you which list. We want to pick the QShow list. And now you select which preset you want to remove. Let's remove the QShow Test A. And here it's going to make you press the save, touch the save button
so
to
you can't
confirm
accidentally double click there.
Right.
And oops.
Right. It makes you move over.
That's good.
You got to press save, and you have to select yes.
That's good.
And now it's off of that list. So if we go back to that list, now it's just those 2 presets on that list.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And again, you can do all this. You'll be able to do all this on the web app as well. So that it's in some respects a little bit easier actually, because
Okay. So let's go back to. I'm just going to go back to the All Presets list.
That one's just good to know, because if you're out looking for presets and you can't seem to find them, that's probably because you're on the wrong list.
Yeah, if you can't find something, it's always going to be on the All Presets list.
Yeah, it will always be there, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so how do you delete a preset? Now, if you delete a preset, it's going to delete it off of all the lists, too.
Gotcha.
Okay, just
'Cause
automatically.
Again, it's a reference. It's not an actual preset that's copied in one place and copied in
Right.
another. It's
Yeah.
one preset that's in multiple lists.
Right. So
Gotcha.
it'll actually go through and check all the lists. If it's on that list, it'll delete it off that list. Right?
Gotcha.
So you won't have like an empty slot or something on
Right.
your list. So to delete a preset, you touch delete remove, and then you select delete preset from system. Select the preset that you want to delete. Let's delete Panama 2. And again, you have to go over and touch the save exit button to as part of the confirmation process, and then select yes when it asks, are you sure? And so now that Panama 2 preset is gone. And again, if that was on any lists, it's going to be gone off those lists too.
Right. So I kind of get the idea why there's like two things on each, on most buttons: new, copy, move, rename, delete, remove, because it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So
Yeah, it's nesting some of those things. So when you have common functions that can be done on either a preset or a list, we could have just made those all separate things.
Right.
But then it makes the menu longer, like more stuff to scroll through.
Right.
So it's just a little bit quicker as you're trying to get to what you want.
Right.
Since typically most people are going to be working a lot with the presets,
Right.
then and these menus will always go back to the last thing that you were doing, the last selection you made.
Right. Because you're likely to be going through doing it multiple times. Right.
So if you're doing the same thing over and over and over, then it's just you go into that menu and click, 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 click. And
It's
you can
already
get to
there
it.
for you. Yeah.
You get to
Gotcha.
it faster. So the last thing I want to show you is how to delete a list. So we're going to delete the QShow list that I just made. So you touch delete remove, select delete list from system, and you can't delete the all presets list. It won't let you do that.
Right.
And then the example faves is the example list that comes preloaded,
Right.
which is just a user list, so you can delete that if you want. But we're going to delete the QShow list. So touch the knob, and then press save exit. Are you sure? Select yes. And then now that list is
no more.
gone. So now you've just got all presets in the example phase.
It's a factory pack there.
Yeah. So that is pretty much everything in the preset management.
Right.
So we got through it pretty quick, I think. I mean, it's fairly straightforward.
Yeah. It's if I were building, a set list, as I said, it seems to me relatively easy. So just create myself a new set list. And in this case, I just have factory presets at the moment. But, even for somebody, as I was kind of saying earlier, who wants those 5 food groups of tone, you can build up something like that and make that your list that you've selected, and boom, you can have it your way that way too.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of lives in both lands. But as I was saying, that the power of having that kind of easily editable set list, even when you're, last moment, we're going to take that song out of the set list. Well, you can just move it to the end of the set list, or just delete it from the set list that you're creating.
Right.
Pretty easily on the spot.
Yeah.
And or if things get reordered, you can reorder it so that literally your next song's there, and then you recall the preset with the A button there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was all the preset management stuff. Let's go over the setup options. So these are things that are going to affect the unit globally, and don't necessarily really have any effect on presets.
Right.
It's just other things, right? So the setup menu you invoke by holding down the knob button for 1 second, and that brings up the setup menu.
Why is the setup menu always so scary to me? I feel like I'm going to mess my unit up when I do that.
I don't know. It's pretty hard to mess up. Like, one thing you should be aware of is there's no confirmation. Like when you change something, when you change something, it's just it'll change it and then it saves it.
Right.
So there's no other like save function or anything. But there's not a whole lot of stuff in here, And the only things that can kind of get you into trouble, it is going to make you.
It's going to warn you.
It's going to make you go through an extra confirmation step.
Yeah.
Okay. So the setup menu screen here is just an announcement, right? You can't do anything from this screen. If you want to exit, you can either press the knob again or press save exit. Right. So on the screen,
you hold it for 2 seconds. That's what that symbol's telling me.
Oh yeah. So sorry, I said 1 second. It's 2 seconds. It might be something in between, but it says 2 seconds. So either so you can get out of the menu at any point by pressing save exit, or you can come back to this screen and hit the button on the knob.
Right.
Right. Either way, just exits out. So the first screen it lets you select whether your outputs are stereo or mono. Now, on these options where there's only two options, just pressing the knob while you're on that screen will toggle between those two options. In this case, when it's mono, both outputs will just have the same signal on it.
Boy, that worked.
Yeah, so there you can hear it. Mono does a mono sum of the two channels, and then just sends it to both outputs. You want to use it as dual mono. The next option here is selects if the cab block is going to be if the line outputs are going to be before or after the cab block.
And the line outputs are the 1/4-inch jacks on the back.
1/4-inch and the XLRs.
And the XLRs.
Because those are essentially hardwired together.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. The headphone output is always after the cab block, right?
Oh yeah, you would want that because you have headphones on. You're not
Headphones
running through
are
a cab.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. But on the line outputs, you can select whether you want those before or after the cab. So if you're running to a guitar amp or powered guitar cab or something like that,
right?
Then you would want to change this to before cab.
Actually, this makes me, not to derail the conversation, but this makes me realize you could use headphones, run that into like a direct box, and that could be your front of house while you're running through an actual cab on the stage for yourself.
Exactly.
So it's flexible. Got it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The headphone output will also function as a auxiliary line output.
And you can adjust your
purpose.
level separately for that. So, wow.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So if you're running to a guitar cab, you don't need to go through and turn the cab block off on all your presets.
Right.
You just come into here and say, select this to before cab, and then you're done. Okay.
Gotcha.
Next option or next screen here is the selects the USB audio output. You can select between a stereo output. Stereo output's the normal, right? So it just sends the stereo outputs onto the two channels that go to your PC or smartphone if you have it plugged into a smartphone. You can change that to where the two channels are the input and a mono summed output.
So if you wanted to record what's actually coming out of it, and at the same time record the dry signal, you can do that for reamping or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's for reamping.
Gotcha.
And then if you just want to use the mono output for something, you have that on the other channel.
Right.
So kind of convenient for some use cases. The next screen is
Jam Link. We need to have like a big echo sound. Jam Link, link, link.
So just to remind everyone, what the heck is Jam Link? That's the wireless audio input.
Yeah.
And it is Bluetooth compatible. So it shows up in your Bluetooth devices on your smartphone.
That's where you find it.
And so when I enable this, and I don't know if you can see this.
There's a side camera, but I don't know if it's on or not.
There's a little blue LED that comes on the side. And if you don't have something paired, it just blinks. So if you're not using it, you should just disable it because you don't want somebody coming in and pairing to it.
Yeah.
Especially during a live show.
Note to self. And the other thing is if you've paired your phone to it, which, you should pair your phone to it. Because actually, like if you're just playing backing tracks or something like that, right? This is lossless, if I recall.
Well,
so.
it's not lossless because all codecs, well, Bluetooth compatible codecs have some amount of loss, but they're high quality. So it uses a high quality codec.
Right. And not the, what's it called? The SBC?
Yeah, I think it's SBC is the default codec, which is fine for voice quality, but not so good for music.
Yeah. But if you're playing to backing tracks, kind of to jump back into where I was headed with this, make sure your phone isn't turned on. You don't receive calls.
Yeah.
You'll get a ring.
Yeah.
It's a good idea to keep it off unless you're using it.
But while we're talking about Jamlink and codecs, so the codec is chosen by the device that's transmitting, okay? Now, Elevate still supports the SBC codec, which is the default codec, because everybody has to support that. But Apple devices also have the AAC codec, which is a high-quality codec, and Elevate supports that. And then some or most Windows devices support the aptX codec, which is another high-quality codec, and Elevate supports that. So those are the two high-quality codecs that Elevate supports. So depending on what device you have transmitting to it, it usually is going to use one of those.
Which is fantastic if you want to rehearse late at night and you can just plug your phone in and go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the audio quality is, it sounds great, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I can definitely hear the difference.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to like the SBC codec.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so if Jamlink's disabled, you're not going to see the next couple of screens because they apply to Jamlink.
Only to Jamlink, got it.
But since it's enabled, these will show up now. So the next one just shows you the name of this device that's going to show up in your music
Can you
playing
edit
device.
that?
You cannot edit it.
Okay, so it is what it is.
It is what it is, but it is unique.
Got it.
Okay, so if you have two Elevates or more, in the same space, then they will show up as different devices.
Gotcha.
And so if you have two Elevates showing up on your device and you're like not sure which one's yours, you can just find it here in the setup screen. And so, the reason that we don't allow you to change this is because we don't want people changing it to the same name, right? If you have two of them.
Well, yeah, where would you be then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next screen is, so this is just an option that allows you to disconnect whatever device is currently connected.
Ah.
Okay, so if someone connects to your Elevate and you don't want them connected, you can come in here
Boot them off.
Press the knob when you're on the screen, and it will disconnect. And so I don't know if you can see on the side here now the blue LED is blinking, meaning that it's no longer paired to a device. The other time you might want to use this is if it's just for whatever reason your streaming device makes it inconvenient to disconnect the device. This just allows you another way to do that. All right, so the next, actually I'm going to go back and I'm going to disable the Jamlink. Okay, and then the next screen here selects the MIDI channel that Elevate will listen to. By default, it's on Omni, meaning it listens to all channels. It will respond to messages on all channels.
Yep.
But you can select, channels 1 through 16, or you can just turn it off if for some reason you want to just not have it respond to anything.
Or you might use it in multiple rigs. I know this one fella, Frank, what's up? Who has all manner of things, but he might want to use it sometimes with the rig and not have it control that particular thing. So you can, that's a useful feature. It could be a useful feature.
All right, the next setup option here is, okay, so we talked about this earlier. What happens when you change a preset and you have edits on your current preset. This is where you select what you.
Man, I feel like this is the dangerous one here.
Well,
Once you get used to it and you know what you're doing, that maybe not so much, but
yeah.
man, you really want to walk through as when you're early on kind of coming to the unit and learning what it does. You really want it to rudely interrupt what you're doing so you know there's,
Right.
hey, you're committing like something to memory here.
Right.
Before you do that, are you sure?
Yeah. Well, and that's why by default, from the factory, this is going to be set to ask.
Right.
Right. So it's always going to ask you at first. But once you get to a point where you get kind of annoyed by it always asking you, then if you want to change it, well, now you know. Now you know what's happening, and you can change it if you want.
Right.
So on this, I should probably mention, so on the screens where there's more than one option, you have to press the knob, and then you get the cursor that shows up here, and then you can scroll through the available options. And then pressing it again exits back to the top level of that screen.
Auto save or auto undo? I was just, yeah.
So
I'm excited about this feature because I've been using it for a while.
Yeah. So we all saw what happens when it's set to ask, right? So you try to change a preset. It says, do you want to save this? And you got to select something.
Right.
So let's say you want it to automatically either save or not save, right?
For sure.
So if you want to save, you can select auto save. And then whatever changes you just made, it's going to automatically save them and then go to the next preset.
Gotcha.
Okay. Now, I should mention, if you are on a factory preset, it cannot auto save those. So it will auto undo. When you're on a factory preset, it always is going to auto undo.
Gotcha. So then you need to hit the save button in that case and give it a new name.
And give it a new name. So it's not going to automatically create a new preset and save it to that.
Aha, that's big.
Because that could get you into trouble. If you start doing that a lot, you're going to fill up your presets with a bunch of stuff
been
been automatically named.
Well, think about it. Every time you just tweak the mid-range on something, suddenly you've got a new preset that you didn't know that.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha. So that's where if you do that, then you do have to manually save. So you have to intend to. That sort of kind of makes sense. So it's auto-save.
It's auto-save
user
on
presets.
Right, on user presets.
Got it.
Now, auto-undo will just undo whatever changes you just made and then go ahead and change the preset. I think, so this would be my preferred option.
Really?
Because I'm thinking like you set up your presets for a gig.
Right.
And then if you actually change something at a gig,
you
probably intend it to be kind of just temporary, right?
Gotcha.
You're just tweaking your level a little bit, tweaking your mid-range a little bit, just because maybe it sounds a little weird in that room or whatever, and you want to dial it in for that particular room or that particular mix. But you don't want to keep those changes.
Right.
Right. You always want to go back to your saved, whatever you saved before when you set it up.
Right.
So in that case, I would set it to auto undo.
Right. Gotcha.
But, that's just me. Okay. Next screen is, so this selects the touch response for the, all the touch buttons, which are all of these capacitive sense buttons here, the preset management.
Yeah, we
and
use the
blocks.
term buttons, but they're not really buttons. They're
touch sensors. They're like a touch screen is the way they respond.
Right.
And so this allows you to select how responsive they are. So the higher the number, the more sensitive they are.
Right.
You can't go all the way down to 0, otherwise, they wouldn't work. So, the lowest you can go is like 30%. So say on 30% here, I'm going to exit out. See, look at that. See, it didn't do anything when I touched this. You really have to press it.
Oh, got it. Yeah, because now it's yeah. Actually, it's not working at all.
You have to be very deliberate.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it was difficult, actually.
Yeah. You have to be very deliberate at the minimum setting there. And then at the maximum setting, it's going to be extremely responsive.
Yeah, wow.
Like you can just barely tap it. And it will...
oh, that's cool.
And it'll trigger.
So you can make it, if you're like me with sausage fingers, you can, yeah.
Yeah, so by default, it's kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
And I think that works pretty well for most people. But if you find that you want it just a little more responsive or a little less responsive, you can dial it in.
Wow. Actually, it just dawned on me. For every unit out there that has buttons, there's you can't do that. That's kind of cool. It's unique, actually, that you can actually adjust how the thing responds to you. That's pretty cool. Right on.
All right, the next option. This is the one that you need to be careful with.
I told you I'm afraid of the setup menu for a reason.
This will do a factory reset, okay? And it will erase all of your presets, all of your lists, revert everything back to as it was from the factory. And then all your setup options will be reverted to default
All
values.
your presets gone.
Right. So be very careful when you use this, right? Because it does not save your presets.
So
now,
you would want to save your presets before you...
you would want to back it up using the web app.
Yeah.
Make sure you get your presets and lists backed up.
Right.
But if I hit this, it's going to ask you if you really want to do this. I mean, you really have to want to do it because you actually have to find which option it is in the menu to do it, right? There's a bunch of other ones that just will not do it. So
yeah, no, it's well, I mean, I can imagine, there could be a reason why someone would want to do this, but given that it's as I was saying yesterday, an intuitive guitar workstation, you kind of want to save all your stuff. So you'll be able to do that from the web app. As we get closer to the launch date, we'll share that too. But to the point, if there were some like corruption in firmware or something and you needed to like update it and kind of start all over again, or, I don't know how that could happen, but if it did, it's still an option for you. So you can still kind of get back, or if you're like me and you spend the first month, diving in and making a bunch of nonsense and you're like, I don't really want to go delete all these presets. I'd rather just start over because I know what I'm doing now.
yeah,
That's where it could be kind of handy because it wipes the whole unit and you start over afresh.
yeah, Or if you're going to sell it or give it to a friend or something, and
you don't want them stealing your tones.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I think this is the last screen. Yeah, it just shows you the firmware version number, just for your information.
Cool.
It also shows up in the web app. So, and that's it. That's everything in the setup options.
We did it.
I think we've covered pretty much everything.
I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
What about global? Did we ever do global?
We did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we talked about global. I don't know. Does anybody? Oh, I'm seeing we have no questions. Is that right?
I have a sneaking suspicion because this is an information thing. So let's just talk about drama, so we can get people to have. What was it on the gear page? Everyone was saying, "Hey, you don't like IRs." And maybe there's some truth to that, actually, for what it's worth. We had that kind of drama around it. And as we were pointing out, it's because you can't, configure it. But, the other, I suppose, intriguing, it's an intriguing thing. It may be worth kind of, we talk about the anti-modeler. And it's actually hard to grasp. I've pointed out to the team a few times, hey, billions of dollars have been spent advertising and marketing the status quo of things. And this unit is kind of hard to wrap your head around because it doesn't really follow the status quo like everything else does out there. It didn't really go the direction everything else went. And as I was talking to Brian, as I mentioned, I've been recording using this unit, and not this particular one. Mine's actually a Plexi. I joke, but I'll have to bring it in and show you what I've actually, was building on the presets and whatnot. It's one of the original prototype units, and it has like a little plexiglass, a faceplate to it where the actual switches are. But, one of the things, I realized was you reach over and you kind of utilize the thing to craft a tone. I was kind of having a long talk with Pat last night and just explaining, because, the easy analogy that someone could, throw at it, and we were having that conversation, is it has four wheels and it has an engine. It's a car, right? And he's like, okay, so this has four wheels and it's electric and has magic, steering on it. It's still a car. And I'm like, no, I don't agree. And we had a long talk, and it was actually, a kind of a cool moment, because the aha hit. We're in the process of reaching out to people. And one of the things Brian pointed out to me is, when you craft the letter, be authentic, tell about your experience. And actually it's worth hearing, because it changed my life in a way. I've spent an entirety of my life recording things with a microphone, an amplifier, a bunch of pedals on the floor. And to kind of share the drama of the story a little bit, I went through, and I got all emotional last night when I was chatting with Pat, because I went through kind of a year that was a real rough patch. I actually had a heart problem, and a pretty rough one that frankly, darn near killed me. So I'm stoked for every day. I'm really happy to be here, really. And I've kind of up and running and functional again. But during that period of time, I was kind of telling Pat, I built this whole kind of fantastical storyland, because I lost kind of everything. My heart wasn't working right. I had no strength, like my whole of my strength, which is a big part of how I see myself personally, just vanished. And that was tough. That was personally really tough. And it even got to the point where I couldn't sing anymore. Like my voice left me because my lungs started filling up with fluid. And I kind of, in a weird sort of way, everything that comprised who I am, personally, how I see myself, vanished. It disappeared, It pulled out, the rug was pulled out from underneath me. And that was tough. I mean, that was emotionally... I didn't actually let on, to my friends and family, how rough that actually is. Because, you think of who you are and the things that you are, and at a time like that, and when all of that, how you perceive yourself, gets taken away, that is tough. I think Brian's hearing this for the first time too. But I was telling this, explaining that, I started writing an album. I just said, instead of listening to podcasts, here I am doing a podcast now, as I drove back and forth to work, or listening to, putting on YouTube and listening to it as I drive, or putting on Spotify or whatever it may be, listen, I have a lot of friends who play music, so they send me stuff all the time. And, it's real easy to get your head always wrapped around listening and consuming content, And for once in my life, I just said, as I'm going through this kind of miserable thing, I'm going to make up kind of my own world, if that makes any sense, and start writing songs as I go. And I didn't you can't drive, and well, some people here in California, I've seen this before, drive and play the guitar at the same time. I don't recommend it, but it tells you a lot about California. I'm always picking on California, but so I would tap on the dash and just sing songs. Well, I wound up writing a whole album doing this, and one night in the backyard, I tap on the table and sing it, and my wife says to me, "Man, that's actually pretty good, man." So it got me inspired, and this is a time where we were kind of getting ready for NAMM, and I was in there building presets all the time, and so I'd work during the day, but at night, because we have a relatively nice studio that you can get things done with. At night, I would go in and just start taking those musings as I was kind of cruising down the road and start recording them. And, I couldn't really sing them, to be honest with you, because like I said, my lungs were filling up with fluid. But it kind of rescued me in a way, because suddenly I was able to just reach over with my left hand and dial in the tone I wanted almost instantly. And I was explaining to Pat, I've never had that before. That actually kind of gave me something, a place that I still could, I still could go, a thing that I still could do, in the state that I was in. And, music, my whole life has been something that has carried me, as my mother used to listen to me play the piano, this old piano that I had rebuilt as a kid. She'd say, when you run out of words, then you go sit down at the piano and it comes out. And that's always been the case for me. But I haven't, when I discovered piano, there's chords, there's structure to this. Pat tells a story too about how, like, when he discovered this as a kid, it's like, wait, this is awesome. Same thing. I had that moment with, doing that. But because this was plugged in all the time, and because I'm like working up all these presets, it kind of hit me that, hey, you know what? I can actually do this. I can actually play and not sound like a complete, like, yeah, nice, Chris. I actually recorded. I'm like, dude, these were pretty good. What on earth is happening here? That's actually some pretty good tone, And, that's kind of it. The ability to reach over and dial something in, and just get what I want to hear means, for me, at least, like I say, and I was thanking Pat for kind of carrying me through a rough spot in my life, man. And thank you too, Ryan. It's one of those things where it rescued me, from despair, because for me, what was I going to do, at that point in time? Lay there and die? That's kind of all my options, really, at that point. And I've never been up against that wall before. That was tough. And we get kind of lost in gear sometimes and what gear does. In what do we call it? Gear acquisition syndrome. I have gas, right?
Yeah.
But man, sometimes we forget the humanity actually that goes on in music, the beauty that it creates. It's bridged more cultural divides, racial divides. It's put people together. I can honestly say it saved my life, in a weird sort of way, because it kept me wanting to do something. It kept me wanting to get up and fight harder and win. Fortunately, I'm happy to tell you, everybody, that I'm all good. I had a fantastic doctor that came through for me, and now I'm back to like 150%. I was telling everybody, you guys are going to miss me when I did everything half-heartedly. You're going to miss that, Chris. But that's the thing that I think is kind of missing in the whole thing, and it's we think about gear so much, but it's the creativity that it inspires that I could never have done without it. Like, I've tried to use, a lot of the, honestly, rather complicated devices that are out there, to do digital things. And either I'm just not too thrilled with how it sounds in the first place. I'm not inspired, A. And B, I don't really want to have to download software onto my computer, update the firmware, learn to navigate the system for doing this. For the first time in my life, I'm 5 seconds away from tone. Whatever sound I want to get, I can get it on this thing in moments. And it was going through that process of building presets that I started to go, I can have anything I want, which opened it up, and before you knew it, I'm actually recording stuff and going, hey, this doesn't totally suck. And I'm spending all my time on takes, so the take is good, and less time on going, well, the mic position wasn't right, this wasn't right. I mean, I have all the equipment to do that, but it was the first time ever that I started to kind of get my sound, what I want to hear, right? Mm-hmm. I've spent a lifetime sounding like everybody else, as a lot of us have. But there was, and we were talking about this the other day, and it finally hit me why I actually like it so much. And it wasn't what I thought. It wasn't because it was easy to dial in. It doesn't sound like anything else out there. It actually was something kind of new. It was a new tone that I had achieved.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think that, for the average person watching, you can get a little bit lost, and we're going to dive more into it because we have to, but I think we're going to at the point where we have to kind of wrap this up. But you can dive into, or it's kind of easy, as I always like to say, it's easy to pick on, a product and go, oh, this doesn't that. It's difficult for people to see the years of effort and design that go into something. But the thing that's impossible for anyone to see or know is the power of having something new. actually. It may just surprise you. It surprised me. Like if you'd walked into my office, I would have said, and All About Worship guitar chimed in and said, "That's an amazing." That's true. It's a true story. For my friends here that watched me go through that fire, it was tough. But the thing that we forget about gear is the inspiration, right? And there's so much uninspiring stuff out there. And you forget sometimes that really the power of creating something new is that you might just be removing all the obstacles that are in the way of creativity. And it's such a temptation in the world of gear to just go out and go, well, I have 70,000 more IRs. Well, that's great. I don't have 70,000 hours to figure out what they sound like, I'm glad you have 800 amp models. I don't have, 800 times 70,000. I mean, my whole lifetime could be spent chasing tone. And I don't really think that's the point. I'll tell you now, I don't think it's the point, because I've just recorded an entire album by myself with this unit. It's the simplicity of it meant that I spent all that time actually getting takes and not sitting there obsessing over, I did this wrong or I did that wrong. And at the end of it, because even when I kicked out doing it, I'm like, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go back in and re-record it all with microphones and amplifiers and this, that, and the other. It's when I'm done, I'm like, it's kind of inspiring sounding, and there's all sorts. It's a country album, so I'll get you all not to want to hear it easily by saying that probably. But
we should do like a listening party.
We'll do a listening party. Well, I'll try to. I have to re-record vocals. A lot of the vocals I recorded when my lungs were still full of fluid, so I do have to go back in and do that. But at least we're in a direction. So maybe I'll launch it around the same time. I'll shoot to launch it at the same time as Elevate. There's my promise. Put it out on Spotify. I don't even know how to do that. I'm just some dude that goes to work, guys, and goes home to my family. But anyways, so I share that long. That long thing to really say that the one thing that I have to say, and it's funny because Pat, and when we were talking last night, he said the same. So Pat's actually has been playing around with it, and he's going to build his own preset pack, which I think is kind of cool. But he actually said, last night that the real test of something is, am I inspired to be better when I play? Mm-hmm. And he built this Sleepwalk patch, because Pat loves this, the old Santo and Johnny Sleepwalk song. You've certainly heard him play it, but we'll have to get him in here one day and just play it just so you can hear it. But he made a patch for it, and he's like, it actually made me sit and practice and want to be better. Like, it actually made me want to get better at what I do. And he's like, I'm comparing it even to some other, units that I have and whatnot, and damn, it's really good. And I got to say, it was a bit of an amazing thing. So, for folks that it's easy, really easy, for people to go, oh, it's another modeler, and we can easily go, it's the anti-modeler. And, of course we're going to say that. Of course we're going to, I'll try to say this or say that. But on a visceral, personal, emotional level, the one thing I have to, say is I have never in my life been so inspired to play, partly because of the simplicity of just plugging into something on my desk, partly because it's making sounds I've never been able to get before. A lot of the presets that are in the thing, that as we were going through that process, I couldn't believe some of them. There were days when and I forget which was that song, the John Mayer thing, and it's like, this can't actually do it exactly.
Oh yeah, I don't remember.
I don't remember the song, but it's that one.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, but I actually made a preset, and I went, okay, look, I'm admitting right up front, it's not perfect, but bigger than my body. That's what it was. Yeah. And because he uses that weird harmonizer or arpeggiator pedal that we don't actually have, but I was able to get something so close and arpeggiate it by playing it that I'm like, check this out. I can't believe it, right? Those are the moments that that you got to go out and spend tons of money and endlessly chase tone, and I was kind of sharing with everybody the other day that I wish my old friend Alan Holdsworth was still alive, because we would sit and talk about it, over a pint. And if you're talking with Alan, it was always over a pint. But sweet soul that he is and was, I wish, and I was telling everybody that in the meeting, I wish he could have seen this, because this is his dream, actually, of being able to dial in his sound, something unique. And that, I got to say, it's easy to gloss over gear. It's easy to look at, I'm sorry, I've been on a long diatribe today, but I've been all emotional lately. But, I wish he could have saw it. He would have definitely played one. I can tell you now, he would have just been swept away, and we would have got the album that he was working on, which I'm still bummed I haven't heard yet, because I actually heard it at his house before he tore his mixer down, and it was pretty awesome, actually. But yeah. So all that being said, now that I made everybody cry, which is not the goal. I'm telling you this to say, man, get inspired. This thing will give you tones you've never had before, and this isn't an elevator pitch. I recorded a whole album. I didn't set out this year to record a whole album. It inspired me to do it. And because I can get the tones I want in 2 seconds, it's so easy. Vernon Reed, when he came by and I made that Rush preset patch in the Airstream at NAMM, it's so easy that why would you not do it? Which just reminded me I need to send him one of these. But
well, you have a very inspirational story, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course, man. I held it all in because it's a scary thing, and I'm not the only person that has gone. In fact, the funny thing is, as I've been sharing this with other musicians, sometimes I hear I've had 5 quadruple bypass surgeries. I'm like going, oh my gosh, wow. And you're still playing and you're still lugging gear around. You go, It's music at the end of the day is one of the most inspirational things, and I think that's kind of one of the things that we forget. For people who are philanthropic, sometimes I generally will try to remind them, being philanthropic, it's not that you gave money or that you gave something away. What you did is you created millions of little miracles that actually happen, where the wires in the brain connect and the creativity is unleashed, and that inspiration goes on to, redefine sometimes an entire generation. We forget that sometimes with music. That's the same thing. It's one thing for it to rescue us personally, but man, it goes on and it makes for fun. It makes for excitement. It makes for happiness. It brings people together. So get out there, be inspired. I can't encourage people enough. We definitely need more music. When the whole world got locked down during COVID, the guitar and guitar-related equipment went up 35%. It hasn't happened since the days of the Beatles. And why? Because as soon as everybody's closed off and alone, the first thing you reach for is a guitar. The first thing you reach for is that piano.
Yeah.
And it's because it's what my mom said at the end of the day. She's right. When you run out of words, you sit down and play. And then your soul comes out. It's a different language.
Yeah.
There are times when I'd come home and I'll tell you one last story and then I'll shut up because I'm just going on and on. But one time I was in there playing and I have this piano. So I as an adult, I decided, I haven't had enough punishment in life. I'm going to rebuild another piano. So I picked up this piano from Baby Grand from someone for free, put it in my living room, tore the whole thing apart, redid everything on it. I mean, the key beds, the whole 9 yards, re-keyed the thing because the keys were ivory, which I still have them because I don't want to let that go. But I'll play sometimes. I'll just sit down and play the piano, and days when I'm frustrated or feeling down, I'll just sit there and play. And one day I was playing and I just, and I was so frustrated in life. And I finally stopped and I left it on this discordant kind of unresolved thing. And 5 minutes later, I hear my daughter walk in and resolve it and play the major chord. And I'm like, and see, got me. She's saying it's going to be okay. Music.
Well, on that note, thank you everyone for watching. And next week, I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about next week, but we'll make an announcement before we
got to figure it out. I think we should talk about the anti-modeler thing, or the whole concept. Now that I just did all that.
Yeah, I think absolutely we should talk about that.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what we're doing next week, next Friday. So join us.
And
please.
if you have any questions, even after the show is done and you watch it later this week, feel free to throw them in there. We're happy to answer your questions. We won't always put you on the Fact Up, segment, unless it belongs there. Actually, I read the Gear Page for all you Gear Page guys out there, and thank you for your wonderful comments. Actually, we'll get into that next week too. But appreciate everybody, and thanks for joining us again on
The Q Show.
I found peace, loving on those who hate me. I found joy, raising babies with an angel on earth. I found worthless,